What's up, everybody? G-Tron here. Today we're going to talk about signs of self-sabotaging behavior. This is the part 2 of the series. Last week I did a video on a little bit of talking about my story, my past dealing with self-sabotage, and just kind of going on off the cuff about how I felt about it, what my experience was, and how I've sort of dissected it in my life. So we all have self-sabotaging tendencies to an extent. Some of us more than others, but it's just part of our lives. We all want to succeed. We all want to be the greatest versions of ourselves and accomplish great things and succeed. But we have also this opposing force that's stopping us from just executing all the time at maximum capacity and just being perfect. We're not perfect. If we were, we would just be like computers, right? If we were just computers and we would just execute things perfectly, just do it. Nothing holding us back. You just press enter and you would just do them. Whatever you had to do, you just do it. But we don't, okay? We all have limitations and beliefs that are holding us back, or behaviors and patterns and addictions and fear, and we have all kinds of things that can create hurdles and challenges. But essentially, all of those challenges end up just really coming from our minds. We are our biggest obstacles to overcome, which is kind of crazy to think about. But we can be aware of it. We can become aware of the signs, the behaviors that we are doing that is hampering our progress. We can just become aware of it so that we can see when it's happening, that we are doing it to ourselves, and we can correct it. So today we're going to talk about how to identify, how to point out the signs that you are self-sabotaging. So one of the ways you can be self-sabotaging is self-criticism. Too much self-criticism. Self-criticism can be good. I think it's always nice to have that analytical mindset of whenever you do something, you can look at it and say, how can I make it better? How can I do this better next time? And maybe you're going to fail, you're going to make some mistakes, but instead of getting down on yourself, you look at what you could have done better instead of going, what the hell is wrong with you? You always do this. You're not good enough. Being too critical, trying to be perfect all the time. Nobody is perfect. You do what you can. You do your best in the execution, and then you look at it and then say, how can I do it better? But too much of that criticism on yourself can create this negative thought loop. It can destroy your self-worth, can destroy your self-confidence. A very good sign that you are too critical on yourself is when you can't take compliments. When somebody else has nice things to say for you, and you can't just take it, you just can't let it land. You can't let a good compliment just let it land on you. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying such nice things. Instead, you think, oh, I didn't really deserve that. It's not really like, I'm not really that great. It was just this kind of fluke thing. It just kind of happened. I'm just lucky, like I can't take credit for that. Like, just take the credit. Give yourself credit. Be easy on yourself, That's something that, there's a good sign. That's a good sign that you're being too critical on yourself. Okay, so the next one is negative thoughts. And not just negative thoughts, but like really looping and being stuck inside the negative thoughts and mindsets. This is going to eventually give you this feeling of hopelessness. You're going to lose your own self-esteem. You're going to become powerless. You're going to lose that sense of empowerment in your life. And then you're going to maybe even become a victim, which is the worst. You're going to start to see yourself as a victim. You're essentially letting go of all of your power and giving it to all the other things around you externally. That you are a victim. You're like a result of somebody else or circumstance or environment and you have nothing you can do about it. You cannot do anything about it. And that negative thought loop can do that to you, which is really the most awful, terrible thing that you can do to yourself. And we're all negatively biased from evolution. We have more, the brain has priority. The brain prioritizes negative thoughts, negative input than positive because it's much more urgent when we talk about survival. Negative input you need to deal with because it could mean survival. Positive things, those things can wait. But if there is a threat, if there are threats, we have stress that we need to deal with, that's probably more potent as a stimulus because it has everything to do with our survival. We need to deal with it so that we live another day. And this comes from evolution, and our brain is wired to focus on negative thoughts. It is a bias. But this is why you have to be aware of it. We have to become mindful of these negative thoughts. And negative thoughts don't always mean bad because they do give us information about what we need to deal with, but as well as it gives insight into the emotions that needs attention. Sometimes we just need to give attention to some emotions, and we just have these negative thoughts can be a sign that you have to look at it and give it attention and not ignore it. So it is good to be aware of them, but it is not good to become completely stuck and looping in this negative thought pattern. That's going to rob you of your self-worth, self-confidence, and take away your power. And then you can't do anything about it. You don't want to be proactive. You don't want to take risks. You don't want to do anything. You're going to lose motivation. You're going to start to hate yourself. I mean, it's going to lead to so many different awful things, but it's not going to help you to get you to the next level. Here's a big one that we can all relate to: procrastination. When we procrastinate doing something, we know we should do it. We know we have to do it, but we put it off. We make some excuse. There's always an excuse like, oh, this can wait. I have something else I have to do. And you probably don't even have to do it. Just so less, you'll do other unimportant things first and put aside this much more important and urgent thing until later. I'll do it tomorrow. And you're really just avoiding that, maybe there's a change. If you do this task, it's going to prompt change in your life, or you might, get one step closer to success, and maybe you have this fear of success. You might be afraid of making mistakes. If you're a perfectionist, you don't want to, put yourself in a situation of that embarrassment or exposing yourself like, oh my God, he made a mistake. Or just discomfort. The fact that it is going to take work and you're going to have probably things you don't understand and you have to work really hard. And so you don't want to open this project. It seems daunting. So you just put it off and put it off and put it off. So that's a very obvious sign of self-sabotage, right? You need to get this thing done to get to the next place, but you just put it off. You know it and you still don't do it. Disorganization is another way that you can be self-sabotaging, and it's kind of tied in to procrastination in that there's something that you need to do, but you're a little bit overwhelmed. It's too chaotic, and for you to face it, it's a little bit disturbing, right? It's disturbing, like there's too much, there's so much, you're overwhelmed and you don't really want to look at it. You kind of turn your back towards it so that you don't have to deal with it. You ignore the problem. So this disorganization is really just avoiding that thing you have to do. It's about prioritization, right? We all have a million things we could be doing during the day, and we could spend all day just doing all these little things that really don't help you, right? We think we're doing things, but we're not really, right? So you could actually be procrastinating by doing a lot, just doing a lot, being busy. Oh, I don't have any time, I'm so busy, but you could just really be procrastinating. It's an excuse, it's a front to look busy, to feel you're busy, you're doing things, but all these things that are really not going to help you in the long term. They're not getting you closer to your goals. You're not really gaining anything from them. You're just kind of filling up time, right? So disorganization is really also a self-sabotaging tendency, and Prioritization would be the antidote. Prioritizing yourself, what's important right now, and break it down and really discard all the stuff that you don't really need to do. They're distractions. Next one is a big one, imposter syndrome. This is a major self-sabotaging tendency that a lot of people actually have. It's when you feel that you're not actually deserving of the success, that you're a fraud. Even if you have the success, you somehow achieved your success, worked hard for it, and evidently you deserve it, but in your head, you think that you don't deserve it, that you're not really worthy of that success, that you have somehow manipulated people around you to think that you do. So it's a messed up kind of mentality that to have. And whenever you have this syndrome, you can't let good things land into your life. You always feel like a fraud when things happen that's really good and you even deserve it. You've put in the work and you've done everything right. You'll still think that somehow you shouldn't have this. And you'll never let those good things land into your life. Or you'll just cut yourself off just before you achieve that success that you really wanted because you feel somewhere that, no, I'm not deserving of this. I don't have the worthiness. I'm not worth this. And it really comes down to that self-worth, your lack of self-worth that is triggering this, that you deserve it, the self-acceptance, that you're good enough. You are good enough. But if we don't have that self-worth, then we're going to never feel like we deserve it. We're never going to feel like we deserve it. And people that have this are fearful of ever being exposed, that we're fearful that we're going to be exposed one day and people are going to find out that you've been a fraud, that you are not that person who deserves this. You're not that type of person. So when you're always stressed about that, you cannot enjoy it. You're stressed and worried all the time that, I'm gonna be found out. I'm gonna be found out. So you might even just sabotage yourself just to get out of that situation. It's too uncomfortable. You want to slip back into that comfort place where you are just, you feel comfortable like this. I am comfortable with this level of success, right? So anything above that, you're going to start to see yourself as being undeserving, that you're not worthy of it. Here's another big one, overindulgence. The excessive consumption, doing anything in excess to avoid the unpleasant feelings in your life. The real problems that you're facing that needs attention, but you don't want to. You avoid it, you escape it by, for example, overeating, getting wasted on alcohol or drugs, or binge watching Netflix or TV, just doing anything in excess where you're numbing yourself from really, there is this elephant in the room. There's this uncomfortable truth that you have to face, but you kind of say, no, let's just do this other thing right now. And you just numb yourself, right? And it really is an addiction. It turns into an addiction of unhealthy activities that's going to really be destructive in your life and keep you from stepping up to the next level. And it happens often when you are really pushing yourself close to that boundary of your comfort zone. And you're really like a few steps away from kind of breaking through, right? You're stepping up, you're breaking through, and you need to work just a little harder, but then that discomfort makes you want to, binge eat ice cream or eat a whole bag of chips or smoke a cigarette and drink or go partying like crazy on the weekend, like get smashed. And this is really the self kind of defensive mechanism working to keep you in the comfort zone. You don't want to get too uncomfortable. You don't want to face the truth. You don't want to face those uncomfortable emotions. So you're going to avoid it. You're going to escape. And that is really pretty common, right? A lot of people do this. I definitely have done it. And it's a very big sign of self-sabotage. All right, here's one that's common in relationships: creating conflicts when there is none, right? You create conflicts out of nothing because you feel that there's going to be one. You expect there to be a conflict. So you create one before it happens. You can't see like positive outcomes. Instead, you focus on the negative outcomes in the relationship. So you create scenarios where that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You create the conflict before there is one. And this is very common in relationship. If you have problems in terms of trust, you have needy, like trust issues, you feel very much scarce in your life, that you really get clingy, or, you know, there's many ways that people can have relationships. That's a topic for another video, but for whatever reason, you feel that there needs to be a conflict, that in every relationship that plays out, this narrative plays out, and you create conflict in your story, and it plays out over and over and over again. All right, and finally, I'm going to talk about questioning your purpose as a sign of self-sabotage. Questioning your purpose all the time, not having a clear purpose in your life. I think it's safe to say, like, not everybody, we don't all walk around being like totally 100% certain, right, of our purpose in life, you know, but I think it is important also to have some sense of clarity of the type of life you want to live. What are your values? What are your principles? What are your standards, like, that you want to uphold yourself to, at least, right? You love yourself and you respect yourself enough that you say, all right, look, this is my standard. I want to keep myself accountable to this standard. Otherwise, I can't respect myself. I wouldn't respect anyone else who doesn't have this standard, right? So, you know, this sort of defining those things will give you a sense of purpose, because you know that at the minimum, you're going to do this. You have to do this. You will behave in this manner. You will be accountable to this or that. You know, like, you have your boundaries and you have a direction in life. You're guided with principle and values that are established from you, by you, right? So having that clarity is very much helpful in terms of pushing you towards the right direction. But not having those guidelines and directions and purpose in your life really can sort of, you will be blown around like a leaf in the wind, and that can, you know, create uncertainty, and you'll never have that passion and certitude about anything you do, right? So you might be actually pretty good at something, but then you might not feel the passion or the purpose in it, right? You might not put all your best. You'll never put your best into it. So that is essentially going to be a sabotaging kind of behavior, where you could be successful, but then you're not putting yourself really 100% into something. All right, so that's it for today. These are the signs, some of the signs of self-sabotaging behavior that's holding you back from reaching your full potential, fulfilling your life, taking abundance into your life, letting it land, being grateful, and sharing it with the world, and just being totally content. All right? Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, like, and hit that notification button. You know how it's done. All right? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.